I started doing this thing. I'm calling it the New England Slam. So I'm gonna try to hunt at least 3 states, so I have my tags paid for New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine. So those are the ones I'm gonna focus on. That's a lot already, trying to get 3 bucks, especially in those states, so we'll see what happens, but that's what I've been focusing on. I originally got into the outdoors industry from just fishing, so I did like guiding fishing. I started a high school bass fishing team, and then I got into making just videos for myself and for my family, but most of my content, like I did shed hunting, so when I went to college in Idaho, it's quite a bit easier than here. I found 127 in a season, and then I found like 15 in Mass, and then a couple in New Hampshire, so I've been mostly doing that. And I've been bow hunting for a couple years now, and the first year I started bow hunting, I shot 5 deer with my bow, and 3 of those were bucks. So.
Wow. New England is home to some of the most iconic hunting, fishing, and conservation opportunities in the world. Striped bass, whitetails in the big woods and suburbs, native brook trout, Maine moose, and the list goes on. Alongside these opportunities is a world-class, local-driven outdoor industry that is honed into the unique needs of New England hunting and angling. The Hunt Fish New England podcast brings you the men, women, and lore behind this region's incredible outdoor industry. This is hunting. This is fishing. This is New England.
Just like you said, here at Huntstock, we get to meet everybody. So there's been some people that I'm like, I knew your username, but I did not know your face. And they're like, hey, Kyle. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, it's always awkward. It's like, where did we meet?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, everyone. This is Kyle Bentel. Did I say it right? Bental?
Bental.
Bental. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
This is Kyle Bental. You might know Kyle from the Bows, Bros, and Bucks podcast. And also, you're probably following him on other social medias under KBB Outdoors 2.0. If you like shed hunting, you probably come across Kyle's stuff. Kyle, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We met originally at the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo. Thanks for coming up and following along with us. And what you been up to since then?
Yeah, so I've been scouting a ton. I started doing this thing. I'm calling it the New England Slam. So I'm gonna try to hunt at least 3 states, so I have my tags paid for New Hampshire, Vermont, or New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine. So those are the ones I'm gonna focus on. That's a lot already, trying to get 3 bucks, especially in those states. So we'll see what happens. But that's what I've been focusing on. So scouting every other night.
Will you consider it a slam if you get an antler list?
Yeah,
I think you should.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a doe, I don't think that would be too hard. Personally, I think I could.
Okay, yeah, you want the challenge.
Yeah, because with Mass, I could kill a doe probably on opening day. I feel like I'm confident in my spots for that. But Maine, I haven't ventured into. I have a couple people that said I could go on deer drives with them or some tracking spots, which would be fun because I've done tracking for shed hunting and stuff, but never to hunt a deer, which is kind of fun because I haven't gun hunted much.
Sure, and you got like the perfect booth to hear all the tips and tricks. You know, you just had the best trackers in the Northeast.
Exactly.
You know, talking about 20, 25 yards from where you're at.
Yeah, it's kind of a tucked away booth, so people look at my booth and they're like, there's a bunch of antlers, but what do you do? And it's like, well, I don't necessarily have a huge sign, but my QR code's not working too hot, so it's a learning curve. This is my first time ever doing a booth for anything, so it's kind of give and take of learning the ins and outs. You got all this nice stuff, so I'm kind of jealous.
Well, it's kind of funny. You and I think we have like inverse experience with the marketing side of things. You have a lot of followers on social media, especially I think your YouTube has a lot of followers from last time I checked, whereas like we don't have even 100 on YouTube. But we get the expo stuff, and you're still growing on that side, so don't sweat it, man. So tell us about your pages and what they're all about.
Sure. So I originally got into the outdoors industry from just fishing. So I did like guiding fishing. I started a high school bass fishing team, and then I got into making just videos for myself and for my family. My parents don't hunt or fish or anything. They're from England, so it's kind of a different experience for me. I was like, I want to take videos. My dad also said, if you're going to see all these bucks, I don't believe you. You would just think I'm telling fish stories.
Sure.
So I was like, I'm going to video just for fun. And I saw like the real tree sea buck stuff and all that. So I started
So
making.
cool. That is so awesome. Those guys.
I just
oh my god.
him and Rodney Elmer, like mountain deer, like
They're
I got to
legit.
talk to him for an hour. And it's the first time I've met him, and I was like,
Here?
so cool, yeah.
Cool, man.
And I was like, talked to him for forever. I was like, my back's hurting from standing here so long. That's how long it was, but
Yeah.
that was super fun. But most of my content, like I did shed hunting. So when I went to college in Idaho, it's quite a bit easier than here. I found 127 in a season, which even for there is like anything over 40 is a lot of
Wow.
sheds. And then I found like 15 in Mass, and then a couple in New Hampshire. So I've been mostly doing that, and I've been bow hunting for a couple years now. And the first year I started bow hunting, I shot 5 deer with my bow, and 3 of those were bucks. So
Wow. So for you, the learning curve was maybe steep but quick. You got in there and got it figured out.
yeah, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes before I started hunting on my own. I hunted with my dad. We didn't know what we were doing. I didn't understand how to read sign. I didn't understand scrapes very well, or how deer traveled and how they need security cover. I'd just hunt where I could around my house, and once I started to expand, go outside my comfort realm of like going to different towns and stuff,
Yep.
I started to see a lot bigger bucks.
Nice. Do you think the shed hunting helped you a lot with actually having success in hunting?
I think it gave me confidence, but to be honest, 90% of the deer that you're hunting aren't going to live there during the shed hunting season. So it's honestly not really a benefit in
Good
that.
point.
I think it's just a cool thing. I think
Yeah.
some people it's more of a fad shed hunting. It's just
Yeah.
like it's cool to find them,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily give you information. I will say some bucks, if they have a small core range, like the electric buck or whatever you want to, Pat's buck, like
Yeah, cool story
those
too.
stay in that general area,
Yeah.
which is nice. But for me, it's cool to have a story if you do end up getting that buck, but that's not why I do it.
Sure. So you started out with the fishing side of things, and then you went to school out west. Is that when you did a lot of like the shed stuff?
Yeah, so that's where I did the shed stuff. In 2020 is the first time I ever.
Is that us getting feedback? No,
No,
that's
Okay.
not us. Wow. Okay.
That was weird. So 2020 was my first year hunting by myself. So that's the year I killed 5 with my bow.
Damn.
And I was like, you know what? I just want to go all out. Now I got a Summit climber, and I just went up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Started bow hunting, and I had a little handy cam, so I bought like a $20 reel tree, little moving thing, so it's like shaking around
Sure.
like crazy. I messed up on a 140-inch buck because he saw my camera arm. So I learned really fast the mistakes of like how self-filming can hurt you.
Did he see you move it, or was there like a glare on the paint? What?
No, so he saw me move the camera arm, and I know that for a fact because like as soon as I did it, he saw it. But I was there was no other trees to go up in the climber.
Sure.
So I was very exposed. I had no security cover. If I was in a saddle, I could have sat in any of the other trees. I saw them 3 nights in a row as a bachelor group. It was the 24th to the 26th. It was during like a new moon phase.
Cool.
They were coming through these scrape areas to go out to like an apple orchard that was private. Nobody was allowed to hunt it. And I was catching them through this white oak patch like that they would come to eat. So a spike would come out first, then a doe, same doe every time. Then a 8-point would come out with the 10-pointer, and the 10-pointer was the big one.
And you just found a spot where the wind was perfect every time almost, and they didn't care about it.
I use scent lock. I paid.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so
You're like the Eberhardt
Yeah.
prodigy.
Yeah, so I don't pay attention to the wind unless it might be the wind. I don't know.
Yeah, what is that? We'll edit it out or something, or we won't.
We'll figure it
I
out.
wonder if they have a mic on still while someone's talking up there.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll keep rolling with it.
Anyways,
So you
yeah.
use scent lock, and you think that's exactly why you're undetected?
So I wouldn't say I'm ever not detected. Does will occasionally still blow at me,
Yeah.
but for the most part, I didn't see really any deer until I started doing scent lock was the main thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I pay attention to the wind, what it's like in the favor of the buck, because I want the wind to play which direction he's going to come from.
Right.
But I don't play the fact of like where I'm going to sit based on that, because a lot of times it'll be the wrong wind, but that's where the buck will be.
And I guess that helps too with like spot availability. So like if you can only hunt 2 days and the wind's not in your favor, you can still hunt it.
Yeah.
Are you wearing your scent lock into the spot, or are you changing at the tree? Because I started the whole scent lock thing. So like my first day in a tree, I had like 3 does. I got buck fever. I guess you can call it buck fever with the doe. Sent it over back, but they had no idea I was there. And literally maybe like 3 hours later, I had deer coming from downwind to me, and I was fully scent locked up. And I've done some sits with scent lock, some without, and I haven't seen as many deer without scent lock as when I have it on. But I always had fought with myself, do I wear it into the tree and risk sweating and getting all scented up, everything, Eberhard talks about, because that's how the first book I read. I don't know if that was a blessing or a curse. Yeah. It got me thinking a lot. So what do? What's your entry strategy like, if you don't mind sharing?
It depends how deep I'm going. If I'm going like deep into a swamp, or even if I'm in these suburbs where I can see people's houses and it's 500 feet away, like in Mass, those places sometimes I won't change till I get to the base of the tree, because they understand that scent's okay when they're in the suburbs until you reach their core area. Once you step over that line of where people don't normally go when they come home from their 9 to 5, then they know the difference between the scent where it's supposed to be and not. But if you have rubber boots, like that tends to be okay. And then I'll like put the stuff in like a closed scent-free bag. But I'd say 70% of people that wear scent lock don't use it correctly. And you have to use it correctly. You have to have an airtight bin with no like oxygen in it or whatever. You need to not wash your clothes. You need to dry them, like put them in a dryer and stuff without a bounce sheet.
At least 40 minutes, all
so
that stuff.
There's a lot of different things of like how you use it, instead of just saying, oh, I wore scent lock and that's why I killed a big buck. That's not. You need a regimen, and that's what he talks about. And I'm not perfect. Like, there's sometimes I'll be sweating my butt off. Yep. But the reason why I'll still see deer when you're sweating is because of the activated carbon. So it doesn't matter if you're sweating in the inside of the scent lock, because it doesn't seep through because of the activated carbon.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it absorbs 97% of the residual sweat.
We've been talking about Eberhard, and props to you for getting him on your podcast. So the Bows Bros Bucks podcast, you got Eberhard on. How the hell did you pull that off?
Yeah, so I've been emailing him for one day. When I was in 2020, I was like, I'm going to just Google his phone number. I straight up just said, what is John Eberhard's phone number? And I called him and he answered. And I was like, hi, is this John? And I knew his voice right off the back. I'm like, holy crap, he answered.
Was it a landline?
It might have been a landline or his like work. He worked at a pro shop back then.
Okay.
That like did stuff, and I was like, holy crap, he's on the phone. And I was freaking out. Like, he was like an idol to me. Like,
of course.
Oh. Yeah. And I started talking to him. He's the nicest dude. Like, he's a busy dude, and he was talking to me, and I'm just like some random 18-year-old, 17-year-old just talking to him. And so he answered all my questions, and I was like, do you mind if I email you? And he's like, sure. So he keeps track of all the emails that he has. So on my podcast, he talks about, oh, I've had your email for years and stuff. And I was like, yep, that's
way.
Me. So I just emailed him. We were actually just talking. I was like, I found this 150-inch buck in Mass this summer. And I was like, I know I should do this, this, and this. And he's like, well, you kind of answered your own question, but here's what I would do. And we kind of just chatted, because I like getting people's insights, so it's not just like in my own head.
Yeah, it's affirming too to hear it from somebody else, right?
Yep. So that's how it random. I've never met him in person.
That is pretty cool, Kyle. Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah, I love seeing the shorts on that. I mean, that guy's just full of so much knowledge, and I know so many people don't agree with him, or just don't want to go through his whole scent regimen because they have success with the wind. But I'm with you. I mean, we're limited with time, and if the wind's not in your favor, you got to do something to counteract that.
Yeah, and I would say it also depends where you live. Like, scent control here, I'd say, is a lot more necessary if you're not going to play the wind and want to have multiple different stands you can go to.
Yep.
But out west, like when I was in Idaho, I never wore scent lock. I was literally in jeans or like clothes that I had at college, and I killed 120-inch deer from the ground with my bow. Like, they just don't care as much about it. It's more of a visual thing, and they live on smaller properties. They're in river bottoms, that sort of thing, for whitetails. But scent lock here, you don't know. In the big woods, you don't know which direction they're going to come from. You can guess, and you could say, oh, they're bedding up on this hill, and they're going to come down to feed in maybe this field.
Right.
You never know. They might come from different directions. So.
Right. I was listening. Who was I listening to? I can't remember exactly which. I've been listening to a bunch of Pat stuff, so I've been very Hunt Suburbia recently.
Yep.
And I can't remember if it was him or no, it was somebody who he had on telling a story, and it was just like that. It was he was tracking this one buck for years, and he was expecting the buck to come from one area, and then there was like this field behind him or something, and a landscape company comes and then bumps the deer out of that field that he never saw the deer in, and then that's when he ended up killing it. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, sometimes they're hiding where we don't notice, and a lot of times it's overlooked areas. Like, I killed one buck in the suburbs, and I found him through, like, Facebook and stuff.
What do you mean? Like people, like, hey, I found a deer in my
yard. I go
yard.
on Facebook groups, and I'm not going to give away all the secrets. But
oh, yeah.
If you,
I'm not trying to extract any info. I'm just fascinated.
I can find deer in any state just on Facebook.
Very cool.
Yeah, so.
That's a hot,
Vermont,
it's a hot tip.
Mass, anywhere.
Cool. So you're going for the slam. Are you going to be, can we follow along on KBB, on Buzz Bros Bucks? How do we follow along?
Yeah, so all of my updates will be on KBB Outdoors. YouTube is, I have both of those platforms on one just because I'm already monetized, so I figured I might as well do the podcast as a part of my KBB Outdoors.
So it's on that.
So
okay.
on YouTube, I have a whole playlist of all my podcasts. Instagram's where I have two separate ones.
Roger
so
that. Okay.
So it's just KBB Outdoors on YouTube. It's not 2.0.
Got it.
So
okay.
That's
good to know.
The nice thing. But on Instagram, it's 2.0. Yeah.
Nice. What's it like for you to be a content creator in a atmosphere where everyone can film now? Everyone's got a camera. Like you said, there's so much hardware that people can use, like swing arms in the trees and stuff. Are you noticing it affecting your channel at all, or like how do you stay unique and continue to have your audience?
Yeah, honestly, I'm just trying to keep it real and not be. I've come from the point of I need the bare necessities, and I don't feel like I need to drop all this money and crazy equipment to get where I want.
Mm-hmm.
If people like God and they want just a real hunt and sometimes the action and not the whole story of I named this buck.
Right. Nothing wrong with
they
that.
Can come
but
watch me. No,
yeah,
exactly.
But it's just not your style.
Like, I will do that too when I get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not where I'm at.
I gotcha.
I have the time to devote to hunting, but if there's a 160-inch buck, there's some people that say, I will film it if it screws up my hunt no matter what. For me, I'm going to try to do the best I can to film it, but if it goes out of frame and I'm already pulled back, I'm letting that thing go, and that's just where I'm at in my career of hunting.
Makes sense.
But some people would be, I'm filming no matter what, even if I screwed up. But they usually live in Ohio or Iowa where there's big bucks everywhere. So that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, places just crawling with them.
Yeah.
So you're working, it seems like you're working full time and then you're scouting all these states. How are you finding a balance? What's like your strategy? Without giving away too many tips, like because a lot of people will say, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you're one of the people who don't believe in that. How are you keeping this strict and getting it done?
Yeah, I'd say people have more time now than ever, especially with working from home and different things. Like my job, I was doing a 40-hour internship, and then I was also trying to do my podcast and do hunting scouting, and I was working full time. So I was doing all that. Now I'm graduated college, so I have a little bit more free time, and I need to get in the real world of more of a real job. But with my job, it's mostly in the summer, so it's door-to-door sales.
Yep.
So I'm on the doors for quite a few hours a day, and luckily I can live off the money I make in the summer for the whole year if I wanted to.
Nice.
But I am gonna have a job, but it's with that I'm out and about, so it's kind of nice. I can knock doors and be like, hey, if you bought from me, do you also want me to hunt? Kind of use that to my advantage. But some of the best hunters I know are plumbers or people that have a craft.
Yeah, a lot of landscapers too.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that.
So they kind of use that in their back pocket. That's not why they became one of those things necessarily, but a trade job is a cool way to do that. I'm not suggesting that's the best way to do it, but
sure.
For me, I wanted to build an audience and build capital for money because I want to be a real estate broker and a land specialist like Whitetail Properties or something.
Cool.
So that's just paving the way to try to start that journey for myself.
Got it. So I was listening to somebody, and then they were saying that they had a time crunch where they had a full-time job, kids, couldn't really scout during the day, even on weekends, and they did scouting at night. Have you ever delved into that when in a pinch, especially going into these other states?
Not necessarily night, but if you are willing to put in the time, you'll wake up early and like do those things. Like
Yeah.
people have time for church or service and other things. Like you can find the time to scout. But you could also take the Neil Pendleton thing and be like, oh, with tracking, I don't need to scout.
Good point.
And that's like a whole different ballgame. But we're not all that fortunate to live in places where there's snow all year.
Right.
So hanging and hunting and scouting while you're hunting, the time that you do have sometimes is effective. But just doing your due diligence when you have any time. Like if it's lunchtime, like start looking up, like maybe pulling up Onyx during a work break. Just be like, oh, I haven't tried this spot before. I'm going to go look there either at night or something else and just try to find that time. Obviously weekends, like most people don't work on the weekends.
Sure.
I do, but not Sundays because that's my day of rest. So I go to church and I don't do anything then. But that's what I would say. Obviously I'm younger and I don't, I'm not putting in that too much of a balance. I don't have kids or anything yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different variable, and how you adapt to it is all the difference.
Yep.
So for the slam, are you going to do a combination of hang and bang and tracking and stuff? What's the deal?
Yeah, so early season, I have quite a few bow spots. So some of the bucks I know 3 days after the season, they're just going to skirt out of there. So those are the ones that I'm going to try to hunt first, the bigger bucks that are like still in velvet. They're all in velvet, but that are going to be on like those food plot edges for the first couple days while they're still in daylight. Yep. So like New Hampshire, September 15th to like the 18th.
Nice.
And then after that, I'm going to try to, once it opens up in, or down in Massachusetts, I'm going to start going there to my early sources. And then later in the season, I'm going to do some big woods tracking for Maine and New Hampshire once we get some more snow or it gets colder weather, and try to do that. But the rest, I strictly use my climber.
Cool.
I have a food plot that I've been working on.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
What's that been like this year?
Oh man, it's with the rain, it's helped a lot. I've never seen this much clover. It's so cool to see.
Because a lot of guys who have historically done food plots, from what I've been listening to, a big barrier to them is irrigation. But this year, that not a problem.
No, and the nice thing is, like, some of the field already gets swampy because it's next to 2 beaver ponds that are like the landowner actually convinced the landowner to pay for me to make the food plot. So it's not actually my land.
Okay.
They pay me to do it. So I convinced them to like give me the money to buy the materials and all the seeds and stuff. So I didn't pay for any of it myself. And it's their lawnmower I use to like trim it and everything.
What is like the advantage to them? Are they going to hunt it too?
No, they don't hunt or anything. I just convinced them that it would look better for the property because it was a giant like nasty weed and poison ivy thickets, and like now their kids can go out there and like hang around and stuff, which I know they won't because there's only one kid and she's like very shy and stays inside all day or goes to the pond.
But if she became an outdoor enthusiast, it would be a place to go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah, so I built that trust over years though. Like I've never trapped beavers in my life, but they were like, oh, we have a beaver problem, can you take care of that and we'll give you hunting permission. So that's how it started. And then
started with trapping.
Yeah, and then I just started mowing their lawn, which isn't really a lawn, just around the pond. And then I was like, hey, do you mind if I like build a food plot back there? Because it used to be a tree farm.
Okay.
So there's some older trees and stuff that aren't apple trees, but they're just like kind of back there. And there's all these giant buck rubs that when I was scouting back there. And then I found a big shed. That was my first shed ever, was one of the biggest whitetail sheds I found in New England. And that just got me hooked, so.
Dang.
Yeah.
So is it all clover that you're planting out there?
Yeah, I did ryegrass before, so there's some of that left over from the last time that I did it. But then the weeds are just crazy. I tried to like spray them and stuff, and I just don't have enough of like a backpack sprayer that will cover that surface area. I tried everything, and it honestly is good for what it is. The last time I did the food plot, I put less effort in than this time, and I had a ton of bucks, so.
And you're seeing activity on it already?
Yeah, so there's only one buck right now, but he beds up on this private that's a whole nother story, but they basically kicked everyone off it. Once the dad died, the son took over, and he's just like...
Not for it.
No one, and he just cut everything down and didn't even log it, he just selected cut it, so now it's super open.
So there's like no understudy, nothing?
Yeah, and it was 160 acres, so it's kind of, that's a nightmare.
That's vexing. Yeah, let's not go there.
Yeah.
Let's not go
We won't go down that rabbit hole.
Sure.
But that kind of changed the perspective. So I'm trying to keep them on the 20 acres that they
Makes
own.
sense.
So I know that you can't keep a deer on 20 acres, but I want him to daylight, and he's daylighted a few times. He's probably 125 inches. He's just a lot of mass, not too much time length. But I have pictures of him last year when I was at college, and yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering how you're putting so much effort into hunting out here, because I thought you were still in school. I thought you were like going into senior year this year, but you graduated.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So I just graduated with my bachelor's. So
nice, man. So you talked about the end goals to do some real estate, land trust stuff. What is that exactly?
Yeah, so I've always had a passion for the outdoors, and it's just something that I love and something that I wanted to focus on. And really the only way in the outdoor industry that I feel like I can make a good enough living to support a family, and if my future wife, like if she doesn't want to have to work, was to do that kind of a job, because I have a lot of friends that are like 30 that make $200,000, $300,000 a year.
Nice.
The only bad thing is you have to put a lot of money into marketing, because you're technically your own employee through them.
I see.
But you make a little bit more percent commission on land. Land doesn't really devalue even in like a recession. So there's just a lot of different things of like land is always gaining value.
Mm-hmm.
Land that my parents could have bought for $25,000 would be $4 million now, and it's only going up in the last 10 years. It's gone up by like 10% each. Wow. five years or whatever. So
what's the plan, to like acquire land and lease it to people?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So through what I'm going to do is you basically go and you have different referrals to properties that are 30 acres or more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of the way that a lot of these companies do it. You can either transform the landscape, or you just take it as it is. You can do logging, some improvement, and then you try to resell it as recreational land.
Oh,
so
cool.
Someone that wants to transform the property for themselves. So I necessarily don't have to do it, even though I have some experience doing that.
Yeah.
As like consulting and land specialist stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So some people call me and be like, "Hey, how do I hinge cut? Where do I do it?"
Gotcha.
So I'll like create bedding areas for them and stuff like that, just for free, for fun.
I saw a guy on YouTube. Is it Whitetail Habitat?
Jeff Sturgis, yeah.
Yeah.
Good dude, yeah.
Okay, so similar to that, but just like on a widespread.
100%, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that guy's fascinating.
Yeah, so he does consulting. So he turned down like 600 people this year. Like he's full of work, like crazy, because he's a genius at it, and he's really good.
It just like rolls off his tongue, and everything he says makes so much sense. And it's just, when I love seeing his progress pictures. It's like, this is just open. Oh, now it's like the most immaculate bedding area you've ever seen.
Yeah, and if you feed the deer, they will come. Sometimes you can turn them into nocturnal deer, so you got to also have bedding. If you cut down all your bedding, you're going to lose sometimes where they're going to be in daylight. You also don't want to create too much of a doe factory, because then you'll never get bucks. Or you'll get the bucks in the summer, but then they'll leave, and then you won't get them during the rut. There's many different factors.
Oh, they wouldn't even come back if it's like
sometimes
doe thick?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, good to know.
A lot of does will actually come to the bucks bedding areas to get bred by the most mature bucks. So matriarchal doe will, just like elk, they'll actually come to the buck in his bedding area and find a scrape and hope to get picked up to be bred by the most mature buck, which a lot of people don't know.
All right, yeah, I didn't know that till now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, yeah.
So you're going to have Jeff Sturgis on your podcast next?
Oh gosh, that would be a little bit harder. He's a busy man, but I'm going to try. Yeah, that's a good idea.
That would be.
Now that you said it, now I got to try.
Yeah, I had to throw that out there.
If I'm good at what I do, I should be able to get him on. So.
I mean, you got Eberhard on. I mean, I think you could pull it off.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to plug about KBB or the podcast?
Yeah, if you guys just like anything outdoors, I love to talk about anything. I just love questions, and I'm trying to focus on making a more tight-knit group of people that want to watch videos about hunting and kind of land improvement, all that sort of stuff, because I posted a lot of shorts, and that's a great way to get subscribers, but I want real viewers. I want to, I can't think of the right word, but an actual group of people that are going to watch the videos consistently, get updates, and not just random people from Russia watching my videos or something, you know?
Yeah, I got you. You want like a consistent, dedicated following.
Exactly.
I got you. Cool, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. And if you ever need somebody on the podcast, give me a call.
I would love that. And, I love your podcast. So.
Thanks, man. Thank you for following along with us. And yeah, we'll keep an eye out for the New England Slam. Good luck, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.